Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. We are so excited to hang out with you this afternoon or evening, depending on when you are joining us and where you're joining us from. We are here for our Getting Started with EquatIO, a general overview of how to use this awesome tool for your math and science classrooms. I am going to kick us right off. My name is Emily Fitzpatrick, and I am co-founder here at the Cobblestone Collective. I come to you as a former math and science educator. High school, I taught math and computer science and English as a second language. Shout out to all of my upper grand folks on the call. And yeah, we are here in partnership with Texthelp today to really showcase this valuable tool, EquatIO, to make your life as a math and science teacher so much easier. But first, who the heck is the Cobblestone Collective? Well, we are a network of educators across Canada and across the globe who are just working together to build these foundations for learning, to inspire each other, to brainstorm new ideas, and help everybody make their classrooms simpler, more engaging, and more exciting. And I am honored to be here with two other rock stars from the math and science world today. We are joined by Isabella and Jonathan. Jonathan, I'm going to hand things over to you and let you get rolling.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to our introductory to EquatIO. It's going to be like really jam-packed this morning or this afternoon. I sometimes lose track of what time it is. I'll let Isabella introduce herself first, and then I'll take over from there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan. I am Isabella Liu. I am a high school science and math teacher. So right now I'm actually just teaching science and all the way up to senior level chemistry. I'm also the EdTech integration program coordinator in our school, which is just allowing our teachers to be feeling more empowered with the tools that they have so that they can do what they do best, which is teaching.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm gonna need your expertise when we get to the high school stuff for sure as we go through things. Yeah. Same with Emily. So my name is Jonathan. I work at the Peel District School Board as a learning environment itinerant teacher. I help to dismantle our anti-Black racism that's happening in our board and decolonizing our education. Before we get started with the whole workshop, I do want to acknowledge that we are all on different traditional territories and lands of our First Nations. I currently reside on Treaty 13, 19, and 14 who are of the Mississauga of the Credit. This is an important piece that I would like to acknowledge because the land is such a vital piece of my own identity. I walk these trails, I run these trails, and I want to take care of the trails in order to help future generations. And so I teach my children about the knowledge that has been passed down from the elders of the Mississauga of the Credit, as well as the others who have walked this land, the Anishinaabeg, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, the Ojibwe and Chippewa peoples, as well as the Métis who have called this place home. Things that are important are the cedars, the waters, and the paths in which we cross. So I do encourage you to continue to find those lands that you are on, as well as connect with those elders and people that are there to know, and the knowledge keepers that can help you out. So part of our introduction into EquatIO, we have this Google form that we're going to kind of interact with you, because I can't, being live, we can't really see everyone. So I want to kind of get used to that form. And I know Michelle Sturba, who is behind here, is going to put that up there. So can you let us know who you are in the form and maybe even what grade you teach? And then we'll see where that goes. Just getting used to answering and asking questions. And by all means, if you, at any time, if you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to keep that form up and constantly use it so that we can always have it. And Isabella will always be there to help me out and to be like, hey, John, there's a question for you, or you've gone too fast, or can you recheck something out? So that will help us out a lot. I know we have a bunch of people from various grade levels, from high school, elementary, all the way down. So it'd be really cool to see where you're at. Lorraine's here, my Peel peeps.
And Jonathan, I'm going to jump in for a second Because what just came up on the screen might have people confused because it doesn't start with a www dot. So what you have on the screen, the cc.page/myanswer, is actually what you're going to go and type into where you usually type in your websites, whether it's google.com or drive.google.com. And that will bring up a form, and that's how you'll talk to John and Isabella today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And exactly what he's mentioned, I will keep my eyes out on this form. And I see that we have Christian teaching grade 3. We have Randy, who's also a tech integrator. Hello. I am also working at a private school. So yeah. Kim, who's also a K-12 tech support. Tanya, grade 3 to 4. Yeah. So it's a wide range of people who are tuning in.
Awesome.
Ooh,
Okay. So
from Milton. Wow, far.
Yeah, Callie's a great teacher. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know her personally.
Nice.
Okay, so let's try one more. Let's try the form one more time. I know we have a couple delays, so as you hear this, you'll see it. But just put it in. What grade? Oh, we already have the grades. But how are you feeling today? At a scale of 1 to 5. And Isabel, I don't know how you're feeling today. You want to maybe fill that in? You can let us know how you're feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I was just going to say it, but I'll also type it into the Google form. But I kind of feel like I'm at the number 3. I mean, I really appreciate your Bitmoji there. It's exactly the imagery of how I'm feeling right now. So just like, meh. It is hump day, like it's Wednesday. So we are working for the weekend for sure.
Well, it's plus 10 outside. I haven't got my run in, but I'm going to definitely run in shorts and t-shirts for sure. So I'm sitting in between 4 and that like super fun times are about to happen. So that's where we have. And I know we got some here. We got some 3s. We got some 4s. Some of us are feeling in the 2s, which is okay. Yeah, it's a day. We've had a long day, and I know many of you have just finished school. And so settling off that frazzled, yeah, right? Like, so I totally empathize. I've been in meetings since 6 o'clock this morning though too. So yeah, that's been fun. But I'm glad that we're getting used to this form. Again, if you have any questions, please just keep that form up and working. You can type in your questions as we go along, and we will also have some other integrations as we go. But before I want to make sure I put this in, I know Emily, she's like, Jonathan, you have to make sure we stop right here and just make sure that you have filled that form out. So on EquatIO, when you are in here, EquatIO is free for teachers, which is amazing. So whether or not you have it with your board as a full license or not, it is free for us as educators. So everything that we were about to show you in this jam pack is free, but you need to make sure that you fill out this form, and then that will allow you to have those premium accesses, but it does take a little time. If you haven't filled this form out, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. There just might be some limitations to what we're doing, but you can still practice some of the things and then go from that. So make sure that you have done that free for teachers section of it. So I just had to make sure I stopped that point and made sure that that's filled out as we go along. So today on tap, we have a huge amount of information coming your way. But basically, I wanted to talk a little bit about this being an information session. We have 2 more sessions next week and the week after that are going to delve really deep into like specific grade level expectations. So elementary is next week, and the week after is dealing with our high school and intermediate sessions as well. So today, though, what is EquatIO? That's really what you're here for. Why do we want to use EquatIO? And then we're going to do some demos and let you actually try some stuff. So adding equations, math spaces, and screen grabs are going to be probably our time saver moments. There are way more features in this tiny little toolbar that is there. That is great, as well as we have some classroom applications that we're going to show you, and then have time for questions and answers. So that's really how the flow is going to happen, and hopefully that goes our way. So let's try that form one more time. Before we get going, I always like to ask my audience, like, what do you have? Like, is there a burning question that needs to be answered? And it might be answered right now. We might be able to, but I definitely want to make sure that we answer these questions throughout our session. So I don't know, Isabella, do you have like is there one question that you've heard as you've integrated this within your school? Like, is there one thing that people are like, hey, I gotta know this?
Yeah, like a lot of my colleagues, they often say, for example, like a lot of us have already created these like templates, like for experiments or already worksheets that are in PDFs or in like Word documents or even in Google Docs. And instead of asking the students to retype it over and over again, they actually didn't realize that there is a screen grab option from EquatIO that where the students could simply just scan any sort of equation, whether it is on a web page or on a doc or on a PDF that you can access on a Google Drive. Like they can just sort of grab that and then insert it immediately, because I think that really cut out a lot of time on the teacher's end and as well as on the student's end, because a lot of them were just sort of retyping the same equation over and over again, especially in, high school science when you're constantly referring to the same couple of equations over and over again. The screen grab is definitely something that they're often wondering, like, is there a way for me to like cut down my time in terms of retyping the same thing instead of copying and pasting? Yeah.
Yeah, and I always get the being in the primary junior, like hey, is this good for my K to 2, like 3 kids? Like, can they be used? And I'm all like, and I know Randy, you asked that question too, and I'm like, yeah, definitely. This tool is so powerful for pretty much every grade. And I know, like, when you look at it, you're like, oh, application wise, yeah, definitely older kids. But we're going to show you some stuff in math spaces that are going to be really, really cool. Emily, I don't know if you have any like burning questions that like you have about this.
I do. I have one simple one. How do I easily find that degree symbol as a math teacher, whether it is elementary or secondary? If I'm doing this in a Google Doc, I'm going up, I'm going insert, symbol, and then I got to find what list it's on, and I don't remember things like that. I just need some easy wins that I don't have to keep like finding that and then copying and pasting it over, and I just need some workflow help.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about workflow for sure. And that, like you perfectly segue into like what we're going to talk about, right? The ideas of why we're here and like what the heck is EquatIO and why do we have it, right? So I always loved talking about EquatIO because it fits perfectly and I probably should have put this number 1, the time saving piece of this. I know right now, being online or being in person, we are strapped, we are tired, we are like exhausted just from finding resources, recreating resources, screen grabbing and plopping them into slides. EquatIO will save you that time, and it will save your students time too, which is really cool. But there's also the idea of universal design of learning. The idea that we can make things that are accessible to all of our students, no matter who they are and what they need, especially our young ones. If we have touch screens as well, it really helps with that. I mean, you don't need to have touch screens for EquatIO, but like for our Ks, like being able to manipulate mouses, it does, those types of things really work well. But even the idea that we can have virtual manipulatives right at our fingertips. We have equations right at our fingertips. There's the periodic table literally at your fingertip, and scientific calculators literally at your fingertips. And we don't have to Google things or find things or search for all these functions. This is all built inside of EquatIO. But not only that, but like the idea of recreating, as Isabella, you mentioned, right? The idea of recreating those worksheets over and over again, that will allow us to find the different things that we need to have. We can have those spaces already done for us, and we can replicate that, and it'll be a lot easier for us. And then the cool part about all these equations that are built in, they actually have accessibility features as well, so they can be read to you, and so those who are blind, those who are hard of seeing, they can actually be read to you, which is really cool. And then of course, assessment for, assessment as, and assessment of learning is all possible with inside of EquatIO. So these are all the different things. I don't know, Isabella, if you have any of your like really cool things of what EquatIO can do really quickly, but
No, I definitely agree with the streamlining thing, because especially now that we're dealing with different types of teaching model, like hybrid, high flex, where we're constantly having to deal with in-person as well as online students. And I personally have found that the minute I start sort of fiddling around on my own screen, even though my students are seeing exactly what I'm doing, I've just basically lost them. And I find out with EquatIO, because everything is so quick and easy, I can still capture their attention. And I'm showing them, because all my students have access to EquatIO, that they can do the same thing. They can format their lab reports or their worksheets and their equations in a really organized manner without feeling like they have to learn something. Like, they have to like relearn this completely new tool. Yeah, and what I really love about EquatIO is that equation like sheet, like all those recall, like shorthand functions that you're going to learn with EquatIO. It's all embedded within. So like if you want to find a degree sign, or if you want to find the Ohm's law, like anything that you would find yourself using consistently over and over again, especially with science, students don't need to memorize it. As long as they remember what that law is called, they can just type it out, and then it will create this entire equation for them. So yeah, it's all about working smart and not hard, I think. And EquatIO allows us to do that. Yeah,
right. The work smarter, not harder philosophy, which is what we all need right now, is amazing. So again, I put this in here just for the sake of thinking about what is free, but this is mainly for like if you don't have a premium license, which again, we talked about this, all teachers have that premium license part to it. But it does integrate well with Google Docs. It integrates with Word docs too. So if you're not into Google, it's okay. It works well with Microsoft. It literally goes right onto your tablet or platform that you need to have. Math to speech talks. There's support for writing shortcuts, LaTeX. So if you want to get even more complicated, I'm going to divert to Isabella for that one when it gets there, or Emily. But it's a really cool function of it. As well as math spaces. And so those my K to 3 teachers, even K to 6, and probably even into high school, the math spaces is really where EquatIO's powerful tools come all together into the learning. So this is all part of it. So then how do I actually find EquatIO? So if you haven't got it yet, if you haven't found it, some of you may already have it. I know for my board, it's automatically built into my extensions. But if you just go to the, there's a couple ways. To either you go to the Texthelp sheets and you download the actual program. And so when you can actually download it right to your computer if you wanted to, or you can find it on the Google Chrome store. So going right to the Chrome extension and finding it built in, and it becomes this little like rhombus with a bunch of other rhombuses built inside of it. No, it's not a diamond. It is a rhombus. Actually, probably even more square, but I don't know for sure if it's totally right angled. Sorry, I'm geeking out here a little bit. And then when you click on it, it'll pop up literally right at the bottom of your screen that you can see here on mine. Or if it's on your app, it'll pop up, and I can't show you because I'm on dual screens, but it'll pop up as one of the little apps that are actually part of your programs, and it'll show up on your actual screen recorder. So if you need help finding that, please let us know in the chat or in the forum. We can direct you one more time, but I'm pretty sure most of us are pretty good with that. So
oh yeah, Jonathan, I was just wondering, is there a preference that you prefer to use the desktop version versus the extension, or do you find yourself consistently using the extension version of it?
The extension version I use predominantly because our board is Google, mainly Google. Yeah. But when I am using my Word docs, that's where I was like, when they brought that in this year, I was like, oh, this is amazing, because I know that there are many who are in Microsoft land and need that space, and it was never there. I know Microsoft had a version of its own math like type of things, but it still wasn't as easily functionable as EquatIO is.
Yeah, I personally also find myself using the extension version because our school is also a Google school. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so much easier. But I mean, the nice thing too is that students also have this ability too, but they would get if your board hasn't paid for that premium, they get the free version, but the free version is not bad, like in the end, right? Like, so
yeah,
students
it's sufficient.
do have access to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me show you a little bit around this space here, so that you can get familiarized with your toolbar. So as I said, the toolbar kind of pops up, and I'm going to get rid of my toolbar for a minute just so you can see the slide a little bit better. So there is the first thing you have on that far left of the screen, right after you see EquatIO pop up, is this the typing expressions. And so when you're inside of typing expressions, actually this might be better to do. Let's go here. Inside of typing expressions, that's where you would put, you can literally put any of your symbols that you want to. You can literally type in your 2 + 2, whatever is needed to happen. And then you have your LaTeX. So let's see if I can get this right. This is where your coding comes in handy. So this is, the LaTeX is like your JavaScript to your equations, and what EquatIO does is put into like block language and puts that up into space. So that's what Isabella gave me as like a metaphor. And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. So I'm not going to test out my LaTeX. I don't really know them too well, but they're pretty cool that way. You also have Loveliness that you can connect to Desmos. And so they have, EquatIO and Desmos have a partnership to work together that you can actually insert any graphing type of function, and the same ways that you would work with Desmos online, you can actually work right inside with EquatIO. And then you have handwriting tool feature, which is really, really good for me sometimes. It recognizes a lot of things. Like I'm pretty bad with my mouse pad, but it does pretty well, right? Like even if I did my exponents, it would still figure out the exponent rule. Even the degree. Let's see if it pops up into that. Oh no, it says exponent 0. That's okay. But you are allowed to do the handwriting, which is really good for some of our students and even our high school students, that they do find it in there. And then you have your speech to text function. And then this is, because you're teachers, you get to have everything that is here. But for students, that the screen grab, these next 4 items are not available for them to use, but you can use them. And so then you have your mobile phone, so you grab your app and you can actually take pictures of your work and push it into any of your documents. So that becomes really handy when you're trying to like talk to students and figure out where they're at. And if you put that into math spaces, you can actually like write all over top of their work and then send that back as feedback. So there's a lot of things that you can put in there, as well as the math spaces, which we'll get into, screen grabbing. And then these are brand new, these STEM tools. So you actually have a periodic table that you can actually grab and learn all about like Scandinamian. How do I say that properly? Scandinium?
Scandium, I think.
Scandium, there we go.
Yeah.
It's good, we're good. That's why I don't practice a lot of these things sometimes before I talk. And then you have your scientific calculator. And one of my new favorite tools is the molecular viewer. So you can literally look up like
molecular geometry. Like this really helps my students to visualize it, because most of the time we would have to like draw it out. And this, yeah, exactly what Jonathan's doing. You can actually manipulate molecules and see how it looks like in different ways. And it's all embedded in EquatIO. What I really love about it is that I remember in high school, like when we are writing our tests, our teachers would give us like, a stack of like key equations for us to remember, or like that's our reference book. Now we don't even need to do that because everything is embedded into EquatIO.
Yeah. And especially for our online, right? Like if you're online and you're trying to search for all these tools and features, like it's right there for you to grab and be like, okay, let me show you. Let me take a look where it is. And then you can use these tools to help that online environment without having to search for other things to allow it, or even just being able to screen grab that and put that into a doc, right? I don't have to recreate it with plasticine or spheres or like toothpicks.
Oh yeah, I know. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we just like pause for one moment here?
Yes.
I have never seen these STEM tools before. You both just like blew my mind. If my chemistry teacher had that instead of like and then you like, I might even know what's going on in chemistry.
Or that
So
really
cool.
large, outdated periodic table that most of us have in the science room. Yeah, I constantly have to refer to it. I'm like, and we know that this is not correct because more elements have been discovered. Oh, we have a question from Gina. Are there any geometry tools in this program in EquatIO?
There are, and so when we get to math spaces, Gina, and everyone else, remind me to show you that part. I actually will show you, but just in case I forget, but there are tons of geometry tools that are built into that as well. So I do want to show really quickly, though, this is an actually important piece, is the actual options menu. And you're probably sitting there going, why, Jonathan, why are you showing us the option menu? Like, what difference does it make? Well, there's a couple things. One, the easiest way to get to math spaces is through either the button here, but is also through the section of math spaces that are here. But in the options section, you can turn off and on various predictions. So if you don't like your formulas or other things, you can turn that off. But I also love this math size font. And this is important because when I insert a font into a doc or a form, and I want to shrink it because of the size that's there, you want to make sure it comes in as large as possible so that when you shrink, the quality of your image, it doesn't actually like get blurry. So if I start off in small and it pops in and then I shrink it even more, it gets really pixelated. So I always keep it around extra large to double extra large in order to allow my screens to come in. So that's just something that's kind of important and through your thing. But you do have other things I can turn, like say I don't use EquatIO Mobile, I can turn that off so it's not always there to help me out and see where that goes. So that's an important part to our lessons. Okay, so we're going to get right into actually demoing some of these things that are here. And so, and then we're going to give you a chance to try it. So let me show you how to do, we're going to first focus on how to actually make an equation, because I think this is our number 1 thing for most of us. How do I insert equations? And this works in Google Forms, Google Slides, and Google Docs, as well as your Word, as well as all those other pieces. So the same process for what I'm doing here also works in all the other sections that you want to have in here. So if I'm going to type in anything, and Emily, you mentioned degrees, so I'm like, okay, 90 degrees. Oh, look at that. It shows up right away for me. Boom, 90 degrees is done. I don't even have to think about that, right? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I want to do greater than. And I'm like, oh, great, greater than, equal than. 2, oh, I don't know, I need a blank square to put in there. So that I need to figure that out. Okay, great. And then I can insert that math right into my to my space, and there it is. And therefore, if I need to make it bigger, it pops it up a bigger. If I need to make it smaller, it also does everything I need. I can also shift that to wherever I want to. Another one that I know is a favorite for some of us in our elementary and primary. You're like, okay, how do I set up some adding sheets to this? So I'm like addition. Okay, so I want like a 3 vertical challenge, so I can actually put in blank boxes to things that are here, and I can actually fill in these spaces to have whatever I need to. And then when I hit insert math, I now have my matrices built into the various spaces that I would want to have. That's another cool one that I know are. Oh, and I forgot to put the bottom numbers into there as well.
So John, I don't know if you saw my face while doing that. I think Isabella did, and everybody here has saw this. When did, like, clearly I haven't been in EquatIO for like not long enough, I guess. That is amazing. Can you like show that one more time? Because I feel the eruption of everybody hanging out with us right now being like, how did John just do that? I need that for my worksheet tomorrow.
Yeah, so like at your addition spaces, so you can put in your matrices, and then all I do is hit add. So I just type in the word add, and the word predictions come up, and we can easily share in the resource stack. There is a nice little cheat sheet of all the various forms that are going to come out there, but they're all there for you to try. and you can put them in back to back to back. You can fill in the spaces that you need to have, and away you go. Also, that for our high school, or if I want to put in a square, I can just type in square, and automatically, there's my square root signs. There's my if there's a whole other one, like my actual squares into things. So a lot of all those symbols that are hard for me to put into, even our what's another one what's another hard one, Isabella, that you always have?
Oh, we have integrals, limits.
Yeah, there's the integral definition that's there. Difference quotients. If you wanted a difference quotients, the equations are already built in for you to try various things. So what I would like you to try doing right now.
John, I was wondering, so there's two questions that are coming up. I think Gina is trying to see, so she noticed that there's a box to type in for EquatIO, but she doesn't really see the doc, basically. So the Google Doc that you have in the back. I was just wondering if you could just show us how you can get to a new Google Doc, or.
Yeah, so all I did was I opened up a docs.new. So any new document that you have, if you're if you're working on a desktop, it comes up on the bottom, and then you just have your Microsoft Word doc opened up, and then you can insert it that way. And then I hit my EquatIO button, and now it will be at the bottom of my screen, and now I can put in those. And then there was another one about quadratics. Yep,
yeah, the quadratic formula.
Boom. Let's do degrees again. So for degrees, I just hit DEG, and there's the degree symbol that pops up. And then I hit insert math. And so then EquatIO did its funky stuff just a minute ago. Like it did all that, like, and comes up as a screen, and for you, and away you go. And so you can change all your options in there and see where it is. So why don't we give you a couple seconds to see where it is, and as you play with it, tell us in that form, what did you do? Like, what equation did you put in? I know Jeanette said she put in the quadratic equation, I think. Is there another one that you want to try inserting? Isabel, which one would you do?
I do a lot of the common chemistry formula. So like we do our dilution equation for prepping our experiments. We do like the concentration equation or the Avogadro's law. Yeah, all those things.
What was that first one?
The dilution. So if you type in dilution, it will come out with like C1, V1. Yeah,
there you go.
That's a very typical experiment. Yeah.
Okay, so Ryder.
Gonna really hope that, Isabella, you were gonna ask John to like explain it and like go into like a full-on problem, and I wanted to see how that worked out.
I would basically like, okay, well, you see this C and this V come together to have a 1, and then somehow over top they have 2, and I don't really know what. If you really wanted to get into that conversation, that might be another webinar. But I know there was a question from Ryder about once the math is inserted, how do we write the answers on the doc side of it? So they become pictures to it, and so the kids would then have to either copy and paste it into their, or be able to write like underneath it. So like for this one here, let's actually do a let me do a 2-digit addition one. So if I inserted this into my equations here, I could hit enter, and then I would be able to tab right underneath it and be like, okay, well that's 0, and they could easily put in their spaces. So at least it's a little bit easier for them to put into it. I believe you can also.
Yeah, John, I'm gonna stop you here.
Yeah.
If you click on your 325 just once, and then down at the bottom, there's a button beside insert math, there's edit math. So what your students do is they open this up, they turn on their EquatIO, you click on that, and that then falls into their EquatIO editor. So now you have that all nice and lined up. You don't have to worry about like those enters and the underlines and the moving.
See, I knew there was a, I'm like, there was a button that I had to do.
And what's
Boom,
great about it is that
done.
they can also change the number, like the colors. Then the students can indicate to you like this is their answer because it's a different color than black. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I love about it. So we have a couple of questions from Randy. Like, how do you create a vertical addition and subtraction? So like the addition table that you just demonstrated. How did you get that?
Yeah, so for the addition one, we did I just type in add, whoops. And then that will come up with the 3 or the 2. And then subtraction is the subtraction. And I'm pretty sure multiplication would do the exact same thing. And so would division. No, my division doesn't. It comes up with different things, which is really cool. The other one I know is always is the fraction one, right? So 4 over, I believe it's over. Yeah, so now I can actually put in my, which always blows, right? Like that's always another one that we have problems with in junior and intermediate and into high school is like, how do I write equations properly, right? Or how do I write fractions properly? So that's always one that we love to put into there. Okay, so it looks pretty good that a lot of us are trying various things. The edit math, I'll show it one more time. So what I did was once I insert, and there goes my EquatIO's bibbly bobbly boop, I can click on, if I tap on and see how it's highlighted, so my actual image is highlighted, I have 2 options down below in my thing. I have edit math and insert math. So if I hit the edit math, it will go to that image, and now I can edit that version of that math. So again, I click on the image, I hit edit math, and then whatever I've clicked on will allow me to edit that particular math space that's there. So, whoops. So this is the part where, and if there's more questions, we'll go back into it and see where it goes. But this is the part where I think EquatIO has really outdone themselves and is in our math spaces. And so, as I said, there's a couple ways to get to math spaces. One that there is I believe there's a website for it, like you can, but it doesn't work directly to it. So the best way I find is either I click on the giant button that says math spaces, and it brings me up into my math spaces, or you can go to your button on there as well in the options. Whoops, once I go back to my doc, and I go to try EquatIO math spaces. But why do I love math spaces? Well, math spaces allows me to have various document, like workspaces for my students. So this is where I set up my assignments, my lab reports. This is how I have Blackline Masters for kids. And you can actually give it to them to then try it, or with the premium side of it, you can actually have them respond back to you with it, which is a really cool side of that part of it. But at the very least, you can push a math space to a kid, and they can then send it back to you so that they can actually work on it. So those who have trouble like manipulating things or finding a digital space to write, all these tools are given to you to try. So all you have to do is hit a new math space, and up it comes, and you can actually insert math spaces right into a doc as well. So once you make all your things, I could insert that picture of that document or that whatever I made into a document as well. But in this math spaces is where I know you mentioned geometry. So all these things are still the same as before, but now we have geometry tools. So there's our circles, our squares, our triangles, our parallelograms, our trapezoids, various stars, lines, and then pathway tools. But the 3 dots, I made it big just for it. That's the cool one. So when I open it up, not only do I have all those main things I saw, let's see, US coins, we're okay. Canada coins are there, so I put them in. Boom, I now have manipulatives for my students to use. So they can grab them and they're like, okay, I need this. I can duplicate that. I can lock various tools so they don't have to use it. What else is here inside of this? This has been my newest favorite one, using tangrams, and so now I can actually manipulate my tangrams so that my kids can build various shapes or tools. And then there's tons of other things. So spheres, square-based pyramids, 10 frames, blocks, counting rods, nets, hexagon pyramidal nets, a Venn diagram. This is something we all need, right? We all need new Venn diagrams because we tend to make them inside of our other spaces. Oh, I need to make my red one a little bit farther. Great, I can just move that around. And again, you can lock these, you can clone them, you can make them infinite cloners. So now all that, remember before we used to duplicate all our pictures and have to have like empty duplications? Well, I can just hit this button, an infinite clone. And now I literally have an infinite clone of that ability of my 5 cents that I can use over and over and over again. Or I can just lock this, and so therefore my kids can't use that side. They can't move it around and not be able to have it. So I have to push it. That's why you can't see the infinite clone right now. This is my space, but when I push it to kids, it allows it to happen. But this is really cool. There's I don't know what your favorite one in here, Isabella, is for science.
Well, we're actually just getting into our circuits unit. So I love the fact that I can just very easily create really organized circuitry, because I remember the first time I taught it, I had to draw with rulers exactly. Or I was trying to like snip it from like Google and then try to remove the background and then try to somehow piece them all together on Google Drawing and then insert it on, the Google Doc like that. But now with math spaces, I've recently just discovered that I have access to it. So I have access to all these different circuit symbols, and I can actually just create that for, same thing with what Jonathan is demonstrating. I can have like all of them duplicated, and then my students can actually create circuit diagrams when they're online. Like they don't, even though they may not be participating, in the experiment, they can actually demonstrate their understanding by showing me a circuit diagram like that, and I could actually see it live. What they're doing, because they're just sharing their screen with me. I also love the fact that I think you mentioned there's a scientific diagram, there's a periodic table, but with math space, you also have like a protractor that you can insert, and you can obviously insert different fraction circles as well. I know that that's like an important thing. The clock as well, which I find it's very smart, because it said, like, I don't know if anybody here is, familiar with the tool Classroom Screen, where you can sort of design a little like classroom screen with a countdown, but like with the clock being there, you can also like test students to read. I don't know. I personally found that my students did not know how to read analog clocks anymore. So
wow. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing now too is that Math Spaces allows you to have multiple pages too. So you can set this whole up for your students and have everything written for you. And then when I want to share it, I can make a copy for each person to share to my students. Or again, you can make a copy for each person and expect a response. But that they need to have, this is the only caveat to that one. You need to have, all users need to have a premium license to expect a response, but you could actually keep track of them. So when I'm inside of here, it would actually keep track of how many students have responded back to my work. And I can actually look at their work directly. But with even with just the free versions that you have, making a copy for each person, and then I can share that link to anyone, and then you get a copy of what I've just created. So if I wanted to send this space to Emily, I'd be like, here you go, Emily, you can use it. I can also share via Google Classroom or any other spaces that I would love to put in. So I know our time is winding down, but I'll give you a little bit more time. Why don't you try something in Math Spaces, see if you can open it up and see where everything can hit. Yeah, Randy, right? An incredible teacher, life-changing. And they would need the extension. Yeah, they can download the extension as well. So there is a free section of that extension that will allow them to work through it. And what the main difference is that they will see free, and yours won't pop up back and forth saying free. That's the main difference between the two of them, and then the limited options that they have in that section. But I mean, it's still a powerful tool for anyone to use.
Jonathan, I was wondering if you can walk me through how to share your math space to your students.
Yeah. So this lovely button up in the corner, won't let me get bigger. I just click on it, and then that allows me to share. So once I'm ready, I just hit that make a copy for each person. I hit continue, and boom, there's my link that I can then put into any space that I want, whatever LMS system that you're using, or things. Changing the background to the picture. I do believe that it stays as, unless you know any other difference, I believe it stays as the, though I can insert pictures.
I think, Jonathan, if you go down to your blue EquatIO button, yeah, Isabel's nodding, which means I'm on the right way. This one always gets me stuck. If you go into space options, right? Yeah, that's where you can change the back.
Squared paper, yeah, and you can change the color. You can also insert your own drawings as well. Like, I don't know if you've ever, like, if you save any like SVG files from like royalty free, yeah, like wiki comments, yeah, and then you can just insert all those pictures and you can lock them, so then students can see what they look like. If you're finding the math space a little bit limiting, I have Callie here who's asking, can you print something directly from MathSpace, or do you then have to copy and paste it to something else, or insert it as like an image to a doc or slide and then printing it out?
You can save this, and then just, I guess print screen would be the way to go. Though I mean the idea is that this is meant to be a digital space, so you could, inside of here, I could also, so if I'm making on my Google Doc itself, I can insert a math space and see how it's a little bit different. So this math space has the share button that's in the corner. When I'm in the document math space, it turns into this insert math space. So it looks a little different. So if I wanted to, I don't know, let's just put a Venn diagram in really quickly. Just for the sake of whatever's here. And I wanted to put that in. I just hit insert. Bibbly bobbly boop. Now I can print whatever I had. So if you wanted to set up certain things, I would do it in a Google Doc, and then click on your math space and then insert that math space. If you wanted to make it more of a digital copy for kids to use as a math space, I would go to the Try EquatIO math spaces and then make your spaces up this way. So the main difference is that when it's in your doc, it shows up as insert math. When it's in another space, it shows up as share.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And I have a question, and maybe Ryder can also specify this a little bit more. I think so. I think Ryder was able to add to the doc, like from EquatIO, adding equations into the doc, but then couldn't anymore. Is there any way that you could create multiple pages on Google Doc, I believe? If not, Ryder, if you could just sort of clarify that for us, because I think Jonathan just showed us how we can create more than one math space.
Yeah, like you should be able to keep adding to the document. My guess is that if it's stopped you in some way, it would allow, it may have, like, there might have been like an issue. You might have to restart the program, is my guess, but I could be wrong in that instance. And I know that for those of you thinking about the infinite cloner, when you send the work to the student, then the clone will work. So right now it shows this little copy paste page to it, so the kids know they can copy that, and it'll be able to drag multiple spaces to it. So I know we have about 10 minutes left, and I want to leave some questions, but I want to show you one more thing before we go and really advertise. We will go deeper with these programs in our next sessions. Like everything that we're showing you right now, we're going to go deeper into it. So we're going to be playing with math spaces. We're going to be sharing math spaces. We're going to be writing equations. We're going to be spending our next sessions diving deeper into things. So just to go really quickly over this, the screen grab is another really cool feature of it. And the reason why I love it is mainly because it saves me time, right? So we're all grabbing the things that we need to grab for various spaces for whatever reasons we need to have them there. So the cool thing is that I can pull up almost any digital space that I would want to have. I probably should have grabbed it from the page that I had it. That's okay. Let's just go back. And I can hit EquatIO and my toolbar will pop up and I can grab the screen image that I want, just like that. And now it's turning this. And what you don't hear in my ear is that it actually told me what it was. It actually read it 10 times 7 equals, which is really cool. But I can also go to more options and copy the, or edit with EquatIO, but I can copy the latex or the LaTeX, and I can, not latex, I can copy the LaTeX and I can actually insert that into my equation. So now I can insert that math and boom, that same worksheet that I just grabbed, that very same thing is put right into my document. And I don't need to actually cut and paste, or I can have now kids go into here and hit edit math, and now they have spaces to edit. So let me do that again. So I just found any worksheet that I want to grab. I then open up my EquatIO bar. I grab the screen grab. I highlight whatever one I want. It does its magic, bibbidi bobbidi boop. It reads it to me if I really wanted to. And then I can grab various options like my LaTeX or my MathML or edit in EquatIO. I copy, I go to here and I type that into my, and then I hit insert math. And now I have the new insert of whatever I was adding. It's a really cool feature that I think will save you time right now into everything that's happening, and see where the spaces go. I was going to let you try that, but I do want to leave some time for questions because I know we have a pile of them coming in here, and I want to make sure we're answering it. But I also want to show that we are about what some things that are popping up. So I know a lot of you are talking, more time with math spaces, more time with equations. So all of these things, like how do we put things into Google Forms? How do I make assessments for and as and of? How do I make virtual spaces for my kids? How do I do some more complicated chemistry and equations, right? That Jonathan knows nothing about. Isabella's got your back on that one there. So our next sessions that we're going to do are elementary and junior, which is next week, and diving deep into those virtual manipulatives, math spaces, Google Forms, and then Isabella's got the 2 weeks from now. We got the high school one. But I just want to say, I know it's a whirlwind, but thanks so much. Oh, it didn't change my thing there. Sorry. But I do know, Isabella, there are questions in here, and so can you? What questions can we answer?
Yeah, I think we've managed to get everything. And what I really wanted to sort of remind everybody is that we can definitely help with additional specific questions. There is going to be a replay email that's going to be sending your way after this session. Make sure just you reply to that email, and then we can definitely address any sort of specific needs that you might have. Just because I know not everybody is like a chemistry or physics specialist, and not I know there's a lot of elementary school teachers who are tuning in right now. So feel free to hit us up. We're happy to help. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's the next session, grades 7 and 8. So it will be elementary and junior centric. So like for sure we will tap into like grade 7 and 8. I'm also teaching grade 7 and 8 science, so I can also chirp in during that time. But I think it's going to be quite elementary focused. If Jonathan, you wanted to clarify that.
No, we'll go from K to all the way to 8, and then your 7 and 8s will that's kind of an intermediate group. So it's going to blend into both worlds, into both sections, I think. So a lot of the things that we talk about next week will be, you can apply it into your 7 and 8s, and then a lot of things that we talk about in the older sections you can apply as well into your 7 and 8s. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, you kind of get 2 of them if you're in that middle ground, depending on what you're teaching and where your students are at. Before we dive into some questions, because Michelle Sturba, our magic lady behind the scenes, is going to get a couple things up on the screen. Just look at that. It's like, it's not EquatIO magic. It's Michelle magic. I love it. We want your feedback. So please head over to thecc.page/feedback. Let us know how this live workshop went for you. And then what you'll also see, so pause this if you're like, whoa, I need to write that down. Remember, we are just a video on your screen. You can pause us at any time. Michelle, if we can get that other form up here too, so thecc.page/my answer. This one, I think, John and Isabella, we still have 5 minutes. So you're going to be able to do some rapid fire questions at the end. Well, some people might be filling out that feedback. Some people might be like, all right, I need to know this, 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 and this. Isabella's going to pass those off to John for the last 5 minutes. But thank you so much on behalf of the Cobblestone Collective and Texthelp for hanging out with us for the last 60 minutes. Loving all of the like, wow, amazing, teacher changing comments. Yes, Isabella, I think you and I can just like sit here and keep doing that emotion over and over again. So to close it off, Isabella, what kind of questions do we have for John?
Nothing is coming up on my end so far, but I really appreciate the enthusiasm that I've been reading, and I really appreciate how interactive people have been, and like there's clearly a need. And you know, even if you can't come up with any questions right now, maybe you can let us know what you're hoping to look for, maybe for the future sessions and next week's, as well as like high school's session, so that we can definitely keep an eye out for there. Oh, so we have one that's coming up right now. Is that, can you search for the 3 dots in math spaces?
Search in the section idea like of knowing where they are, or
yeah, because you know how like
yes.
we're just seeing a menu. Yeah.
So I could type in so right at the top there I can type in various things, so I don't have to go searching through this whole thing. I can actually see what's being there. So like my personal favorite is the fraction bars, not the fraction circles. But that can all get an all philosophical topic around why we shouldn't be doing pizzas anymore in fractions. But so those are my favorites that I use. And I know there was a question around like the protractor tool and measuring angles. So like you could, well, there's a number line. Sorry, I didn't really make that big enough. But you can easily grab a various array into things and make that whatever degrees that you wanted to make. And then using your protractor to measure out whatever degree you wanted to put down. So that's the other cool part of that.
And I think we have a question from Lorraine. Can you copy LaTeX editor from Screen Grab onto Math Spaces as well? Because you've shown us with Screen Grab, you can immediately put it into EquatIO, but is there a way that we can do that into Math Space?
Yeah, so everything that I showed you in the EquatIO side works inside of MathSpace. Everything, right? So that same, like, let's type something in, so that, you remember the addition vertical thing, and like inserting that space there, it automatically gets put into a weird, I don't know why I did that, but we'll go with that. It was weird. I can also do all my inserting my graphs, so I can insert my Desmo graphs right into my math spaces. Your LaTeX can be put in there, your speech text. I can grab various things and put it right into your math spaces. And I know there was a question around sharing, and you have to be careful that you aren't in. So if I click on the bar when I'm in the Google Doc, that will open up a math space that I'm going to insert into the Google Doc. If you want to share it with your kids, you need to be in this space and hit a new space to share with them. So that's something to distinguish between the two of it.
And I think we have a final question, Jonathan. Can you use freehand in math spaces, or do you have to use the equation editor?
So like just writing and drawing and doodling?
Yeah, does it recognize the handwriting?
So you can draw, and you can also do handwriting. So 0 plus, and does pretty. I mean, like my 2-year-old can write in this, and it does pretty well as well. So it recognizes most things that are happening in here. You can also, like, you don't have to insert, so you can actually put in like, this is your instructions for today. Sorry, I hit my caps by accident. And you can actually insert like text question like as well. So if you needed to, you can always insert that as well, which is pretty cool.
I love it. Jonathan, Isabella, thank you so much for all of that EquatIO knowledge. Thank you for blowing all of our minds, I don't know how many times, and inspiring us that we can make math and science simply digital for our students and fitting whichever type of learning environment or classroom environment we may have. We are at the top of the hour, so we are going to sign off. Jonathan, Isabella, you will be back for round number 2 as you tackle elementary math and science, kind of our grade 3 all the way up to grade 8 next week. Head over to cobblestonecollective.ca to register there or watch for your replay email, and that will have the link in there. John and Isabella, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, and I hope to see some of you next week.
All of you are back.
Everybody.
It's all fun.
I love it. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.